How are we doing, everybody? Hope you're all well and welcome back to my channel. So recently I did the tour Tales from the Octagon. You might have seen me talking about it on social media or whatever. And on that tour, I tell a story in my life of when I hit rock bottom and then I thought I really need to turn things around. So I'm going to share it with you guys today. And it was when I went to prison, and I touched on that publicly for the first time when I had my Hall of Fame induction in 2019. I went up there, I had a speech written for me, and I threw that out the window, and I just went off the top of my head, and it kind of came out. It wasn't planned. But I'm going to tell you the story today, because for me, that was when I hit rock bottom, and then that's when I knew I had to turn my life around. Listen, growing up the way that I did, I saw a fair bit of violence when I was younger, and then when I was younger, I kind of thought that was normal. I thought it was kind of normal to solve your problems with your fists, and that got me into a lot of trouble. I started doing martial arts when I was younger, and I became very good at martial arts, and then finally I found a sport that I could do, and that felt great. That gave me a lot of confidence, but it also got me in a lot of trouble because my dad was very proud of me. He would go to the local newspaper, so I was in the newspaper a lot when I was younger. So then when I started going uptown drinking when I was like 16, 17, because in the UK, you can get in the pubs if you're a big enough kid, when you're about 15, 16, you can get served. So I was going out drinking, and by the way, you've got no business drinking alcohol at that age because you can't handle it and you act like a fucking idiot. And if you've already got a little bit of a tendency to want to prove yourself, which is basically what it comes down to, doesn't it? When kids are going out there, they're getting in fights, they're trying to prove themselves, trying to prove they're a tough guy, trying to prove they belong, trying to seem popular, trying to win friends over, all these type of things that essentially all just come from insecurities within yourself. And that's what it was for me. And I was getting into a lot of fights. And when I started going uptown drinking, as I said, going out with the boys in the pubs, my dad never realized when he was going to the local newspaper, he was essentially acting as my first ever fight promoter. Because when I started going in the pubs, all the others were like, oh, here he is. It's the Karate Kid from the paper. Come on, what you got? And all the rest of it. And because I was young and dumb and drunk, let's be honest, I ended up getting into a lot of fights. And there was no shortage of older kids. I was 16, 25-year-olds, 26, 27, whatever, that thought they could take on this cocky little 16-year-old. So I was always getting into fights. So then soon, it wasn't long before I was in the local newspaper for something else, and that was getting arrested. And it was a phase of my life that I'm not proud of. I look back and I think, wow, what was I doing? I had no direction. I was working dead-end jobs. A lot of the time I didn't have a job. I was obsessed with being a DJ at that time. I put all my energy into that. And I was really going nowhere fast. I left school at 16. I didn't go to college or anything like that. And that was one of my big regrets in life as well. So any youngsters watching this, you really got to try at college. And when you're at school, apply yourself. Because as I say, that's one of my big regrets in life. Now I'm going to tell you about when I went to prison. Because that kind of was rock bottom for me. I went out one night with the boys, and we're in this pub, and I tried to go to the toilet, and there was a guy blocking my way. He wouldn't let me in. And I'm like, yeah, get out of the way. I need a piss. He said, nope, you can't go in there. I'm like, get out of the way. So I kind of shove him to one side. And when I get in the toilet, I see why he didn't want me to go in there, because two of his mates were beating up one of my mates, Benty. Benty's on the floor, and they're kicking the crap out of him, right? So I'm about to join in, right? And then bang, the guy that wouldn't let me in punches me from behind. Right, so obviously it all kicks off. Within a minute or two, all the doormen come in, we all get thrown outside. And we're outside, and this guy that I was going to fight with, he's got hold of a girl in like a full Nelson, and he's using her as a human shield. Right, and I'm like, you absolute pussy. So I'm talking to him and his other buddy. At the corner of my eye, I can see him. He's sneaking up. He's getting closer and closer. And I know what he's going to do. He's going to wait until I get close enough. And he's going to kick. He's going to punch me. He's going to jump me again like he did before. So I waited until he got in range. And then obviously I'd done so much martial arts as a kid. My go-to move was a head kick. So I head kick him, knock him out. He hits the deck. And right when that happened, the police pulled up. I'm like, oh shit. So I run away. And the copper gets out of an unmarked car and he's like, Michael, no point running. We saw the whole thing, and I was known to the police back then. As I say, shameful. I'm not proud of it. I'm really not, but that's just how I was. That's how life was, and there was nothing unusual about it. I wasn't the only one. A lot of lads in the north of England doing the same thing. So anyway, I get arrested and we go to court and I got charged with public order, which is a relatively minor offence. These guys, they never press charges, but still I'd been in a fight in public, so I got charged with public order. And my solicitor back then, my lawyer, he said, Michael, just plead guilty. You plead guilty, this whole thing's going to go away. It's a minor offence. I thought, yeah, you're right. So I plead guilty, and then the judge retires back to his chambers to consider the verdict. And as I'm there, my solicitor turns around and says to me, Michael, just want to let you know, typically when the security show up at the back of the courtroom, that means somebody's going to prison. And I'm like, oh, really? Really? And I'm like, hold on a minute. Are you saying that I'm going to prison? And he says, yeah, looks like it. So I run to the back of the courtroom. Rebecca's there. And I'm like, babe, you're not going to believe this. He says I'm going to prison. And by the way, Rebecca, her belly was out here. She was 7 months pregnant with Callum. So as I said, not a high point in my life. And she's like, shut up, because I was always messing around, always joking. I'm like, no, listen, he's serious. I'm serious. And anyway, the judge walks in, so I rush back to the stand, and I'm standing there. And sure enough, the judge sentences me to 28 days in prison. So a few hours later, I arrive at Preston Prison, Category A, maximum security prison. I was locked up for 24 hours a day. We got out once a week for an hour where we walked around in a circle. For food, we would go down to the canteen for breakfast, lunch and dinner, but we literally went down, wait in line, we get given our food, then we go back to our cell, and then we eat the food and we shove the tray through a little slit in the bottom of the door. So as I say, we were locked up 24 hours a day. We just got out for a few minutes just to get the food and take it back to our cell. And yeah, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I was going through. I couldn't believe where my life had gone and where I'd ended up. And I thought, wow, is this it? Is this what my life has come to? I was sharing the cell with this guy, I forget his name now, some little guy, and he was an arsonist. He'd burnt down this massive building. I don't know why. He was a bit of a weirdo, as you can imagine. We never got into it much. He was very quiet. We didn't talk much. And I remember the first day when I got to prison, when I got there, like you see in the movies, they kind of hosed me down. They gave me the prison issue clothing, and I'm sitting in the holding cell, and I'm looking around. I'm like, wow, is this it? Is this what my life has come to? And I remember there was a football game on a little TV high up, and I was just sitting there. I was watching the football game, and I'm looking around at these people, and I'm thinking, fucking hell, I am so much better than this. Is this it? And I remember one of them came over. He was like a heroin addict or something. He's like, you all right, mate? What you in for? And I was like, fuck off. Don't talk to me. I'm not one of you, right? And I thought, I'm better than this. And I said to myself, I need to make a change, and I did. When I came out, I thought, right, I got to get my shit together, and a friend of mine, well, it was actually my boss at work, he always said to me, he said, Michael, is this what you want to do for the rest of your life? I'm like, no, I don't. He said, well, you need to give it some thought because you're not going to be young forever. Before you know it, all that time will have passed you by, and then, you're too old to make any changes in your life. So when I went to prison, it woke me up. It made me realize that I was on the wrong path. I was going nowhere, and I actually thanked that judge because I was a little shit. And I never learned. And if you don't get reprimanded, if you don't get held accountable in life, you're never going to learn. You're going to continue making the same mistakes. I was going out with my friends. I was getting absolutely wasted. We were getting into fights. It wasn't fights with guys that didn't want it, by the way. There was plenty of other little shits like me that wanted it. And there was a bit of beef going on in this little town. And there was a little beef going on in all the other little towns as well. So, I certainly wasn't a bully or anything like that. But there was plenty of people that wanted to, settle it with the fist. So that's what I was doing. And as I say, I wasn't proud of it. We did have some good times looking back, but it was ridiculous. And the reason I'm saying this story is for anyone out there that's potentially hitting rock bottom. And by the way, I've heard some stories from people when they've hit rock bottom, and it was way worse than this. This isn't even that bad, really, but to me, that was my rock bottom. And I remember 28 days in prison. It was on the front page of the local newspaper. I just got with Rebecca. Callum was still a baby inside Rebecca's stomach. She was 7 months pregnant. I remember when she came to visit me in prison, that was a low day. I'm sitting there and she had to come in and sit opposite me there, and the belly's out here, and I'm just like, wow, what has my life come to? I'm fucking locked up like some common criminal. So anyway, there you go. Whatever you're going through in life right now, know you can make a change, because that seems to me like a different life. And it is a different life. That was, when was that? 2001. So that was 20 years ago. Certainly now my life doesn't resemble that at all. I've made a lot of changes for the better, of course, but it certainly was the wake-up call that I needed. And then obviously from there, I got into martial arts and, mixed martial arts, became a professional fighter. And the rest. But still, I just thought I'd share that with you there because now a lot of people have asked me on social media, I heard you went to prison, what were the details? So there you go. I'm not proud of it, but I just thought I'd share that one with you because no matter how low you get and no matter how bad things get in life, as long as it's something that can be solved, you know, you can always rebound, but only you can do that. You're in charge of your own destiny. And I truly believe that. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Ring the bell, subscribe, all that good stuff.